Hey, this is Paul Green from the MSP Marketing Edge. Delighted to be back here in the studio doing another video. So thank you very much for inviting me back in, Gradient MSP. And today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. Why don't more of your clients buy cybersecurity from you? Why aren't they buying everything that you do? And how can we help to protect them from themselves, if that makes sense? Now, there are three reasons I reckon why people don't buy more cybersecurity. And the first is that it's only on the fringes of their attention. So what to you is very much, I mean, it's everything, isn't it? As an MSP, cybersecurity is just massive. To the average business owner or manager, they're not aware of it. So they hear the big things like CrowdStrike. They hear the massive hacks, when the airlines or the banks get hacked and it's a worldwide thing, they hear that. But what they don't hear is about that 5-user business down the road getting hacked, or that 10-user business over there having a ransomware attack. So it's not everywhere for them. For you, it's everywhere. For them, it's not. And on top of that, they then don't understand it. And therefore, if they don't understand it, they can't explain it. So, everyone knows about computer viruses because they've been around since the 80s. We've all seen, well, those of us of a certain age, I'm 50, I remember watching, tech films like War Games. Do you remember War Games in the 80s where they hacked into like a Pentagon computer and accidentally started a nuclear war or something? I can't remember. But, all that kind of computer viruses stuff, that's been around. But modern cybersecurity, the average business owner or manager doesn't understand it. They really don't get it at all. And as I was alluding to earlier, they also believe it only affects big businesses. They just don't see the hacks of the smaller businesses. So I think to overcome this, there are three things that you need to do. And I've made these three things for the purpose of alliteration. I've got 3 R's that you can use. The first thing you can do is to make things relevant to people. And I'm going to come back and add some detail to this in a second. Then you can just keep repeating what it is you've got to say. And then the third R is for you to remove choice. And that's what we're going to look at in the rest of this video. So let's start with the first one, which is to make things more relevant to them. Now, I'm going to show you an image of the apartment where I used to live in Nottingham in the UK back in 1998. And you may have heard of Nottingham. It's where Robin Hood comes from back in the day. And you may think of Nottingham, and indeed much of the UK, as a very romantic, lovely place. And actually, this was my apartment back in the day. And it was a bit rough, in a rough area. That was where I lived with my in-between wives girlfriend. Her name was Amanda, and I literally was with her in between wife number 1 and wife number 2. She was my partner. It's good to work through a couple of wives in your lifetime, I think. And we lived actually on the ground floor of number 22, and then we moved to the upper floor of number 22 after we got burgled twice. And there's a lot of crime in Nottingham. If those of you in the UK will know that Nottingham has its issues with crime, as do most areas. But we got burgled twice. And, we were sort of mid to late 20s, just didn't really think about burglaries, didn't think about being burglarized or anything like that until it happened to us twice. And then what happened is we talked to our neighbours and we told others what was happening. And over a period of time, we noticed that a burglar alarm system started to be fitted to other houses in the street. And it was really interesting that, the stats hadn't changed. In terms of the stats of the risk of someone being burgled, that hadn't changed. But the fact that it had happened to a neighbour twice suddenly made this seem more real. And this is what we mean by making things relevant. To put it another way, I don't believe that stats work. Burglaries work, right? And what that means from a cybersecurity point of view is that you've got to make it real to make it relevant. So what tools have you got? What's your toolkit to show your clients and your prospects the reality of cybersecurity this year and how they can help with that? I mean, the most obvious of those, of course, is dark web monitoring. There's many good systems around. You can go and get dark web monitoring. You can spin it up on their domain. You can say, hey, have you got an email address that starts with so-and-so at, or, have you got one of these? Or who's got this email address? And is their password this? Because that's for sale on the dark web. I mean, that is surely the most ultimate way of doing it. Another thing you could do is show and tell them. I know of an MSP who's got an old laptop which he bought off a client, and it was infected with ransomware. So he took out the Wi-Fi card so it can't ever connect with anything. took out the Bluetooth and everything, and he now has a laptop. It's probably a few years old now, but he has a laptop with ransomware, right? It's got the red screen, it's got the this. So when he goes to talk to clients and to prospects, he can open up this laptop and say, if you see this screen, you're screwed. Right, if you see this screen, then they have probably deleted your backups. They've probably done this. They've probably done that. Blah blah blah. They've probably been in your system for 2 weeks, and they've made it as near as impossible as they can for me and my team to fix it. And by the time you see the red screen, the damage has been done. Right, you're down to very, very few options. That kind of show and tell stuff is very real, and that's because you're talking to their heart and not their brain. We don't make decisions on this kind of stuff using our head. We make decisions on this kind of stuff using our heart. It's really important. So don't try and get people to make logical decisions about this. Get them to make emotional decisions, and never forget that people are a lot more motivated by the fear of loss than they are the opportunity to gain, especially if the kind of business owners you're dealing with have something to lose. You may know this yourself. If you've got an MSP that you've been working on for a number of years, you've got clients, you've got staff, you've got infrastructure, you're making money out of it. You're much more fearful of losing that you're much more motivated to do something to stop you losing that than you would be to do something to gain a little bit more. So the first of those, the 3 R's I recommend, is relevant, and the second is repeat. Basically, repeat the core message until you are sick to death of it. Back in for the first 10, 13 years of my adult career, I was a radio presenter, which was amazing. I was on music radio in the UK. I worked at a number of different stations. And one of the things that I had to learn was that you have to keep repeating things if you want people to learn them. So if we were giving away a car in a competition, we had to keep talking about the fact we were giving away that car because people didn't remember unless we reminded them again and again and again and again and again. So I'd hear that every hour I was on the radio, I'd be talking about giving away the car, and I'd think, well, I'm bored of it. But the people listening weren't listening for the 4 hours I was on the air. They were listening for 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. So you have to keep repeating and repeating something. At the point you're sick of saying something, they are only just hearing it. So you might do strategic reviews, quarterly business reviews as they're known, and you might do those with your existing clients, and it might be that 1 year you mention it and they don't take action. You mention it the next year, the next year, the next year, next year. 5 years in a row you mention it, or 5 meetings in a row you mention it, and it's only at that 5th meeting that it actually gets through to them, because what's happening is you're battling something called their reticular activating system. This is a part of our brain which does lots of things, but one thing it does is it filters sensory information. It's like a relevance filter. So, for example, let's say you drive to another town and you see an MSP's office, or you see like a break-fix shop. You will see that. Your eyes are scanning all the time, everything that's happening, and your eyes will see that just literally in your peripheral. And your brain will go, that's relevant, it's an MSP, it's a computer shop. So you turn and you see it. But someone else, let's say a dentist, will drive through that town, will not see the computer shop, but will see the dentists next door. And their brain will go, there's a dentist. But your brain won't. Does that make sense? So the reticular activating system, we program it by our interests. Ordinary business owners and managers are not programmed to see cybersecurity stuff, so they simply don't see it. Well, they see it, but they don't perceive it. Our eyes see everything, but we don't perceive everything because it would be crippling for us. So that reticular activating system is something you have to beat through repetition. And then the final thing I recommend is just to remove choice for people. And the way I look at this is, if you were ill, and I hope you're not, or never are, but if you were ill, do you kind of go onto Google or ChatGPT and say, hey, what's the best medical treatment for this? You might do that for complementary treatments, but when it comes to your actual medical treatments, you listen to the doctors, right? And you might get a second opinion, but from another doctor. But you listen to experts. So I think far too many MSPs make it too easy and too acceptable for their clients to opt out of cybersecurity when, in this day and age, everyone should have the highest level of suitable protection, right? So this is really easy for new clients. For new clients, you say to them as part of the part of the selling process is, it's my way or the highway, right? So what that means is you get an advanced level of security as standard. And this is what we do. So this is the cost of our support. this is the cost of our cybersecurity. And I would break it down in the proposal so that they can compare apples to apples rather than apples to oranges. This is the support. This is the 365. This is the cybersecurity. You'll see that our cybersecurity is expensive, or the cost is high. Never say something is expensive. The cost is high because we only deliver an advanced level of security as standard. Because I want to sleep at night, and I want you to sleep at night. And if you saw what I saw on a daily basis, you would want this advanced level of security. And do you know what? I don't want to support you if you're not willing to invest in your own security. Now, you may change the words and soften those words down, but that's exactly what you mean. So for new clients, I think that's kind of easier than it is for existing clients, especially someone you've worked with for a number of years. So for existing clients, there are a couple of ways that you can do it. The first way is to say to them, please upgrade. Here's something we'd like you to buy. Please, can you upgrade? Or the more confident route is the we are upgrading you route. Here is a product we recommend you buy versus we are upgrading you to this. And in fact, we with my MSP Marketing Edge clients, we give them a cybersecurity upgrade letter. And here's a screenshot of the start of it. And it explains to them, well, we are just upgrading you. From this date, we are going to upgrade you and we are going to give you a new package. And that's going to cost you this much more money. And we're doing this. And it's an enforced one because it's about you sleeping well at night, which is also about you sleeping well at night as well, right? And for those people that are absolutely don't want to do that, then you can use a very simple disclaimer. You can write something up and make them physically sign it, not e-sign it. Go to their office and make them physically wet sign it to say, I do not want to buy this enhanced security package from you. I understand the downsides of this. I understand that our business is now not fully protected against malware, against this, against that, against whatsoever. And I also accept that in the event of some kind of breach, we must pay extra and outside of our contract with you in order for you to fix that problem. And I understand that the typical cost of that would be $4,000 or something like that. So do you see how, and I appreciate this is a very confident way of doing it, but actually, if you want to sleep better at night, knowing that all of your clients are on a right level, I believe sometimes you have to push people into buying more cybersecurity protection. This isn't about cashing in. This is about protecting them from themselves. And as it says here, something like a simple disclaimer can be a very powerful sales tool.